Yurt, I wasn't going to do another blackface video, but some of you have asked for it, and some of you are really asking for it. Now, this blackface I keep referring to is about more than music or aesthetic. It's a culmination of cultural identifiers used solely for the boost it will give a brand, celebrity, or celebrity brand. The problem is taking these cultural signifiers, speech patterns, style of dress, or music style that have a deep connection with people of color who get criticized when partaking in these same styles and using them to benefit your own career. Yes, there is crossover and blended music and aesthetics change, but if your goal is to use this approximation to garner attention with zero appreciation, you're a vulture. Post Malone, vulture. Eminem, not a vulture, just kind of old and corny now. Ariana Grande, vulture. Drake, vulture. Action Bronson, not a vulture. Marlon Craft, not a vulture. Kim Kardashian, a big flopping buzzard pecking at whatever scraps of culture she can tether onto. I'll be bouncing between examples a bit today because I want you to understand core differences between appreciation of a style and pilfering what you can to enrich yourself. You, of course, have the aforementioned Post Malone, whose publicist in 2016 said he wasn't doing hip hop, for him to double back and say yes, he was. Later, he went on a rant about how hard it is to be a white rapper, then followed up saying he didn't want to be a rapper. Oh, and he conflated styles of hip hop saying it lacks substance. And if that's the case, then why do it? Do you know why these braids bother people? Because in large part of the country, black people need to be careful how we display our hair if we want to get or expect to keep a job. It's why the Crown Act was created, which is legislation that will prevent hair-based discrimination, which is still legal in about half the country. If you can't understand why someone would be annoyed, you're not trying to understand. Let's switch it up a little bit. I want to talk about Ariana Grande. First of all, this is what she looked like on Nickelodeon before the pop star pipeline and the weird image change, which by itself isn't a big deal. Some people like spray tan. Some people like too much spray tan. But it's a natural change, one that's easily understood, but what about this?
Oh, girl.
I'm like, bitch, that's my cookie. That's my juice, okay? Thank you, next. That's what this baby picture says. The dancing scene in this video was actually inspired by Sweet Charity and the wardrobe.
You know, I love my MAC lipstick. This is the MAC I'm here to talk about today, girl. Come on. Kill me, get your ass in here. Come on, girl.
I'm like,
You see, the accent change combined with the tan added a little bit urban style, one that was needed to match the pop diva profile being built around Grande. Now, for many black and Latin women, this voice and style is something they can't take off. People can consciously adapt regional accents and tone, but it's a lot harder to lose forever. And this was used as a costume that Ariana used to enhance the image around her and her music. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, Charlie, what's the big deal? Well, here's the thing. That accent is something that women of color are criticized for in the workplace, something that unfortunately needs to be suppressed in job interviews. Then you have the spray tan, which again isn't by itself that big a deal, but it was done tactically in combination with the accent to generate more appeal. Okay, so there's this thing called colorism. And in simplest terms, you can understand colorism as prejudice in associating or assuming personality and way of life based on a person's skin color. But it's the reason you get the loud, dark skinned friend trope on TV and cinema, or the sensitive light skinned man that isn't as brooding or ominous as a dark skinned man. This is slightly different from racial stereotyping because it exists within ethnic minority groups. Like, I stayed in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic for a few months, actually during the Hurricane Irma, and yo, that shit was scary. Anyway, you come across a lot of colorism there as well. You might get a fair skinned Dominican being called Blanco or Blanquito, white or white boy. And you might get a dark skinned Dominican being called Moreno, which is basically a dark skinned or tan person, though it's used interchangeably with black non Latinos. There's a caste system in India too, based on color, that I'm not adept enough to get into. But the gist of it is colorism has impacts all over the world. Asia, the Caribbean, and Africa all have large markets for skin lightening creams. Now, as you can probably guess, the personalities or characteristics associated with darker skin are usually negative, seen as brash or uncouth, or in a term that if you've never lived in or lived by, you should probably stop saying, ghetto. Now, just because I said that, there will be a ton of angry folks complaining about my last statement, typing ghetto in the comments. First of all, your mama raised a failure. Second of all, let me ask you a question. If you've never lived in a ghetto, how can you be sure what you refer to is ghetto? especially when you only know how to use the word as synonymous with something being bad or of low quality. And that's what people need to be empathetic and understand as to why it annoys people of color to see our cultural signifiers divorced from context and sometimes the struggles they bring us used to make someone else a profit. A skin tone that impacts those who are naturally that tone in annoying and often racist ways, and bangle earrings that get discreetly added to a list of unacceptable dress codes is all Ariana took from this. That and some harmonies that Christina Aguilera did better 15 years ago. But the worst detractor of this style of pilfering culture through aesthetics and branding is Kim Kardashian and her ilk. And honestly, that would take an hour to get into, and I can't hold your attentions for that long. But if I didn't say anything, you'd all add her to the comments. But while we're speaking on aesthetics, if I were to show you these images, who would you imagine wearing them? Now, what about these images? Do you see a problem? When core parts of your cultural or ethnic identity can be used as a penalty against you while being a benefit to someone who doesn't face the same struggles, it kind of makes sense to be a little ticked off. And a lot of you refuse to understand that. The vitriol you guys feel okay typing because I think Eminem is played out or Post Malone exploited black culture is astounding. Y'all can see the stuff that some people put in these comments. Now, I'm grown and some rando on the internet isn't going to hurt my feelings, but imagine the stuff that YouTube flags and I have to stop from coming through. The deliberate and intense racism says a lot about the egos of people who hear race or any critique and get their underbritches in a knot. I want you to listen to this. This is Justin Nizuka. He's been in the game for damn near 20 years, and his blend of culture and sound, it's consistent. If you go back 5 years, 10 years, you'll find the same yet gradual evolution of his sound. Sometimes it's more poppy, sometimes it has a little more of an R&B vibe, but it's a natural distillation of the culmination of a life on the grind. And he does this blended music without shifting his accent or skin tone. You see what I'm saying? Here's another example.
Hey yo, depending on the day, depending on what I ate, many wear from 20 to 35 pounds overweight. I got red eyes and this one's lazy. They both squint when these lights shine, so I look crazy. I'm albino, y'all, I know I'm pink and pale, and I'm hairy as hell everywhere but fingernails. Shoot, I shave it crazy.
How about Brother Ali, who I'm not gonna lie, I thought was a black albino, doing his thing with his natural aesthetic, speech pattern, and mannerisms that aren't crafted and let go of after an interview. Do you understand what I'm trying to get across? But for as open as some folks pretend to be, they are one, very, very racist, and they lash out at any mention of race or culture because they are insecure about how inept they are in examination and nuance of the discourse. And two, appear to have very short memories in regards to their own handling of race and culture. When Lil Nas X dropped Old Town Road, y'all lost your damn minds. I mean, the pettiness was real. But he dropped the blended type of music you all claim to be accepting of, and not only did you refuse to acknowledge it as a country song, you got really racist. Now, what part of that matches the energy some of y'all show when a white celebrity is accused of co-opting ethnic style or culture? And when I say they refuse to count his song as country, they took it off the country Billboard charts. Let me say that again. His song made the country Billboard charts and they later removed it. Not only that, but when he dropped the remix with Billy Ray Cyrus, they tried to leave him off altogether, including this congratulatory sign. Check this out. Now, does this make sense to any of you? In even shorter memory, America lost its collective damn mind when Beyonce dropped Cowboy Carter. The reaction to Cowboy Carter has reinforced how, at its roots, many Americans see Cowboy as a stoic white straight man. And Beyonce is an icon, so where do you draw the line? Probably somewhere around here. Now, I don't want to make this too long, so I'll sum it up with a question. If these styles, music, or aesthetic changes of some of the folk I criticize are natural, then why, when they shed their black signifiers, is that point in a celebrity's life seen as juvenile or the rebellious phase, as something to grow out of?